Two tumbling conkelders is an unconkeldament in Balloons Tower Defense 6 where you need to complete an entire game of chimps using just 2 towers. The Tack Zone and the Super Brittle, because I have a sneaking suspicion that Ninja Kiwi is going to nerf the Super Brittle in update 53. So we're going to be using this tower once more before the possible nerfs come into play. Because Super Brittle is fantastic at the moment. And if you're wondering what Conkelder is, it's a tier 5, Generation 5 Pokemon that's a fighting type. And it holds 2 massive pillars of concrete. But much like concrete, we have a concrete plan when it comes to this scenario. I don't want to get up to long range attacks and especially super range attacks for the moment. We do need them, but we can't get them because of round 37. And I should make a bit of a, I don't know what you would call it, but an update towards a previous video I did when it comes to the Century Champion and the Super Brittle. I did say that round 37 was the only round in which you have naturally spawning camo whites. I was a little bit wrong there because round 70 also has camo whites, but there are also regrows as well, which is a bit of a hazard when it comes to our ice tower here being the only counter to the camo balloons throughout the entire run. Now we can't have you directly top right because then that means round 36 is going to be very tricky when it comes to the regrow shenanigans. So yeah, apologies about that. I thought round 37 was the only round which has naturally growing camo whites, but with Super Brittle, by the time you get to round 70 anyways, round 37 is the only true threat to one of these runs. But from experience, round 98 and round 100 could be a little bit annoying as well. The Tack Zone has the damage, especially when paired with Super Brittle. Round 22, okay, pink balloon could be annoying here. Nope, not annoying. Although this lot of pink balloons could be annoying, especially since our attacks get blocked by the ice tower here. Lovely. Now then, yeah, we've got cold snap, so that's fine for the moment. 26 zebras. Are we going to complete it? Yes, we are. Now, believe it or not, it's going to be quite safe getting overdrive for the moment because of the fact that round 37 is still going to work despite the big increase in attack speed. Remember, pierce is just as important, and if these targets are frozen, then we can't really pierce through them. And the idea is that we have a whole bunch of balloons in this square, ideally frozen, so that when the camo white balloons come within this square, that's when we get ourselves the ice shard and embrittlement upgrades simultaneously. Deep freeze, because sometimes getting them through is good. Or making them travel across the square is good. Again, for a Super Brittle to camo solo on this map, you cannot at any given point in time buy ice shards before 37. Otherwise, you're just going to be too powerful of an ice tower. And then the only thing you got left on the round is camo whites. Regular white balloons, zebra balloons. It's all the white and zebra balloons I'm concerned with. Luckily, you are permafrosted, so yep, we managed to get through those, which is good. Camo regrow greens. Sometimes they do kind of sneak through. I'm kind of concerned about that one there. Please be popped. Thank you. If you were not popped, then we wouldn't be able to do that. And yeah, we definitely got the money required to get both upgrades throughout this round here. So hopefully we can do it. Hopefully. There we go, they're all annihilated. Just like that. Make the balloons surround you. Also now we can get super range attacks. Again, round 70 has camo whites on that round, but we'll get Super Brittle by then, so 37 was the only truly annoying round for this tower. Now, I'm not worried about most rounds from this point onwards. This is a very powerful combination. The more projectiles you have, the more that the debuff to the tower, I should say towers, the balloons themselves, because you're adding that much more damage. And when you go into the death zone of the Tack Zone, which is literally above, just a little bit above from where it spawns, because that's where all its tacks are. Like, if you get the bad in the center here, then it's getting maximum amount of damage out of the Tack Zone because every single tack is damaging it. Now, I just hope there's no sneaky camo balloons which are going to sneak their way through our defenses. Mainly purples and pinks I'm worried about, but I don't think they should be able to do that. Once the chain reaction from the ice shards starts, there's no stopping them. Even though we would have thought of the Tack Zone first, I think it's safer to get Super Brittle first because we have the DPS in order to get through the 50s. But just to ensure that we have that 100% stability against camo balloons, namely anything that is white or zebra, then Super Brittle is the best option to go for first. And there goes 49. Not a problem. The Horde is nothing compared to our might at the moment. If I were to give this combination a unique name, I would call it Brittle Skulls, considering the fact that a skull appears on the tower of the Tack Zone when we get it. It's just something so satisfying about seeing a whole bunch of ice shards on the screen. Just know that they are doing lethal work against the balloons. And now Super Brittle is online. Oh, your days are numbered, ceramics. I think the word was disclaimer that I was looking for earlier when it comes to like natural camo white balloons thrown around. I know, I've already mentioned it multiple times, so let's move on. Crucible of Death. And just stop right there, okay? What happens when you combine the succulent Chinese meal meme with Helldivers? This is super democracy manifest. Okay, camo lead balloons, not a problem. Not a problem whatsoever. Hello, BFB. It's time to call your pepperoni pizza off. Giddy up, 61. No match for us. I don't imagine this combination being possible on balance, simply because there's just not enough track length in order to make full use of both of these towers for around 100. Remember, if you try and test a combination and it doesn't work on round 100, it's not worth testing the other rounds. If you don't have enough DPS, don't try that combination. And when it comes to sniper starts in a 2TC scenario, there's only a handful of maps at the very most which can start on round 6 with a sniper simply because of the map length. Best map is Scrapyard, but other possible maps are Logs and 3 Mines round. I think that is the extent, although there is some weird quirk you can do on Tinkerton with a rocket so that you can start on round 6. We've been cruising, but I've forgotten that we have enough money now for the Tack Zone. Many, many tacks. There's an alternate timeline where absolutely everything is the same, except there's one difference. You can use both cross paths, so for example 225 for Tack Zone and 522 Super Brittle. But I'll only really get down to 521 because refreeze is basically useless on Super Brittle because of the fact that this thing has normal damage anyways. But I would not say no to extra range. If these two were swapped the other way around, so it goes with refreeze first, then larger radius, then obviously there's an incentive if you're just looking for the range to go with both upgrades. Imagine if there was a mod out there where a tower just gets randomized upgrades, and obviously how warped the tower would look because of those upgrades. So let's say for example you get laser blast from Super Monkey, then the crow's nest upgrade from the Buccaneer, and then the next upgrade would be absolute zero, and then the following upgrade after that would be just long range darts from the Dart Monkey, and then the final upgrade would be refreeze. That would look stupid, wouldn't it? Round 76, no match for us. What else would also randomize is the damage output, the pierce output, and if the tower can hit camo balloons by default, or if the attacks themselves can decamo, or that doesn't have anything, and also the damage type is random. So you best bet that you get yourself normal damage or acid. That'll be the pure definition of let's go gambling in a 2TC scenario. Or in a normal game of chimps, you see this glue gunner? It may start out as a glue gunner, but it could have like all of the best upgrades from a super monkey. So it could be an anti-balloon, it could be Legend of the Night, and it could be a vengeful true sun god. All of that shenanigans. Not had a single death so far. The only thing that's died are the balloons, and we have not died to a yellow balloon throughout this video yet. I say yet, it is not a matter of if, but when we die to a yellow balloon. Not just any yellow balloon, but the yellow balloon. The yellow balloon that is invincible to all of your attacks. The yellow balloon that retains its camo despite the fact that we have decamo. The yellow balloon that says, nah, I'd win to your towers and just sail right on through as if your towers don't exist. It has so much aura, so much swag, but it defies logic. It is the impossible yellow balloon. If you're a new viewer to the channel and you're wondering what the bloody hell am I going on about, well, in a lot of my scenarios that I do on the channel, yellow balloons are some of the most common balloons that I ever die to, alongside like DDTs, ceramics, not necessarily many Moabs outside of the DDT though. Like, usually it's the inside of Moab, that actually get the better of me, just because of their sheer numbers and also how fast they go. ZMGs are not usually a thing that I die to, and if they do get to the end of a track, but that's an indicator that you don't have enough damage. Slow and steady. And you were wondering, how is the Tack Zone going to be able to damage DDTs? Well, if the Super Brittle hits a DDT, it temporarily removes the lead immunities that it provides to the DDT. So therefore, the only property it has left to protect it from certain attacks is the black layer, which means explosives cannot damage it, but sharp, shatter, and laser can, because they all innately cannot hit lead immunity, and also just regular cold outside of metal freeze, they can also work. Although that's also the condition that if it can actually target and damage mild class balloons in the first place. Because for certain upgrades of the Ice Monkey, it cannot actually hit mild class balloons at all, can only hit ceramics or below. Whereas like, if you go from Ice Shard to Embrittlement, this can damage Moabs. And when you get to Snowstorm, this can damage Moabs. And then when you get to Icicles, that can damage Moabs. Whereas the previous upgrades cannot. Although obviously this can work in conjuncture with that, so that it does slow down everything that's not a Moab, but then when you get to absolute zero, then permafrost can apply. Can apply to Moabs, that is. But the absolute zero has really fallen off its grace when it comes to supporting a 2 megapops run. It used to be one of the best towers that you can use in a 2 megapops run when it comes to supporting the tower in which you want to get 2 megapops with. But it's received a lot of different damage buffs depending on if the target's frozen, depending on if the target is a ceramic, and also its ability as well has received damage buffs. Not just the default attack, but the ability, which is where most of the damage buffs have applied. And that is actually the thing in which you use in a 2 megapops run. Its ability, the means of doing only 1 damage to a target, but nowadays it can do like 5 or 10, depending on if like the target is already frozen and it's a ceramic. But this just goes on, which means that you can only use it very sparingly. which is like, just use it on Moabs. But I've forgotten if it now does bonus damage against Moabs, the ability. I don't think so. Round 94. Very, very easy here. And when you have deep freeze, obviously your pierce for the super brittle increases. But when it's below super brittle and you're not relying on that increased pierce that much, there are scenarios where the tower just doesn't freeze a balloon because of the fact that it's already within its cycle trying to then freeze another set of balloons. But obviously there are other balloons in which have already been frozen and it can't refreeze those targets, which is really annoying. Yeah, things are going very well, sorry. I think round 98 could be a little bit of a test when it comes to the ceramics. Not the mobs themselves, but the ceramics inside them. We've got over 100k left. This is one of the cheaper combinations. Definitely not the cheapest, because that would probably belong to like a base Dark Monkey and Corvus back in version 40. I think 40.2 he was his most powerful form. Round 98. Just absolutely butchering these. And as you can tell, actually, things are not going so well. I feel like this could rely on a bit of luck here when it comes to our ice shard placements and what happens. I just hope that this run is not botched because of this, although probably round 98 is going to have some randomness involved. I need, despite all of the attack speed that the Super Brittle has, there's obviously gaps where he cannot target a ceramic, especially if for some reason it's getting pierce capped, which is not cool whatsoever if that is the case, because it feels like we would require some slightly different placements for these towers so that we can actually get through these rounds. As you can tell, there are slightly different results, so it's going to be a matter of RNG on this round. And you can't exactly change their targeting priorities. They don't have targeting priorities when they attack in a radius. Okay, that time it works. Obviously, there's absolutely nothing that you can do when it comes to microing these, so now it's just the last obstacle, round 100. Can we do enough damage in order to take out the Moab class balloons, etc., before they decide to go down south? That is a big question here. Obviously, we rack up thousands whenever the bad is within this area here, when you're trotting through all of our attacks. Fantastic. That shouldn't be like that. What the hell's going on there? I don't know why, but those DDTs should not be traveling down south. We should be able to take them out instantaneously once the bad has been popped. Yeah, again, what is it with that? And you can't go with the faster cross path for the Tack Zone, because then at that point it doesn't really have a lot of pierce. You need the super tax in order to actually have some sort of pierce in the game. And then there are people who are so adamant that, like, you could do something else in this scenario to actually make it work. Excuse me, like, you can't even change the targeting on these two towers, because there's no targeting option. So it's purely RNG. And my last attempt on 98 showed that it's purely RNG, because you have different outcomes throughout the round. You rarely get through the round without actually dying. Oh, for goodness sakes. Again, RNG. Doing the same thing, but having different outcomes. Oh, but for some odd reason that time worked. Maybe it's just when I purchased Deep Freeze. I just don't get this game sometimes. It is so random. And people always biblically say there's no such thing as true RNG. Take a look at this run and tell me there isn't true RNG involved. Returned back to the RNG round of this combination, which is 98. Round 100 has a certain outcome. For this round, as you could tell from our previous attempts of trying to do this round, has random intervals. 99 won't have random. Round 100, just hope that we can actually pop the DDTs before they make their way around to the final straight of the map. So it would be stupid to get all this way, wasted 20 minutes of my life just to get the same outcome as last time. Pop the bad play. Thank you, that is much better. But now what about the rest of this? Ah, yes. It was worth it for a much worse round 21, 22, 23, one of those 3 rounds. I'll look through the recording. But it was much worth having a worse that round and us having a very, very consistent time on round 98, 100, getting through those rounds. I don't get it. It was a slightly different placement this time around. Whereas this is like nudging the Tack Zone as much as possible while also being on this sort of square as top as possible. Whereas I thought having you slightly further down south would be a bit better so that we can deal with 36 more consistently. But we was north enough so that the regrow green balloons that appear in our radius while they're camofied had enough time so that the ice tower can actually pop them. But I was just a bit annoyed where if the balloons were too clumped together, then in each damage cycle, then the ice tower wouldn't be able to deal with the second camo regrow green if it was too close behind. If they were evenly staggered out so that you can damage one, and then when it attacks next, it damages them both. But anyways, enough me rambling. We have over 116k to spend with this combination. Thank you all so much for watching. I don't know what I did differently there, but here's proof that it was done, and here's proof that there's no modifiers, which is the core rule of 2TTs, is that nothing appears in the modifiers. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the video down in the comment sections below. And if you'd like to support me further, then use my creator support code whenever you're in the store. It helps me out plenty, and I get a tiny slice of a pie of the purchase of whatever it was that you purchased. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care of yourselves, everybody.